If there was ever a way to follow up the absolute behemoth of a game that was Combat Evolved, in my opinion, what we got with Halo 2 was the only way to do it. Bigger levels, bigger guns, bigger boobs, and bigger bums. Hello everybody, this is Aqua Sloth, and today I'd like to take a look at one of my favorite games from my childhood and the one that got me into the series as a whole, Halo 2. Releasing in the fall of 2004, this bad boy hit shelves when I was still but a wee 70-month-old baby, and if you saw Combat Evolved sales and thought, hot dog, well, bratwurst, brother, because Halo is even thicker and juicier than ever before. With hype around the game being topped only by its younger brother 3 years later, Halo 2 was not only a monolithic event for the gamersphere at large, but in the mainstream world as well. If a game can get these dried up old bastards to talk about it on primetime television in 2003, it must have been a pretty fucking big deal. That's like having a 2-minute unskippable YouTube ad today. People were watching whether they liked it or not. With the first trailer dropping at E3 2002, followed up by a cinematic trailer and TV commercial 2 years later, the Halo 2 hype train was at full beans with no plans of slowing down anytime soon. While I recognize that the development process for Halo 2 was what some have described as, quote, hell, I feel like it cannot be understated just how ambitious Bungie was with this sequel. The team working on Halo 2 were quite literally bursting at the seams with new ideas and shit they wanted to add simply because they thought it was cool. And you know what? They were right. And I think it was something like half the game had to get cut due to time constraints, but what we were left with is still one of the greatest games ever developed. If you're interested in the behind the scenes making of Halo 2, there's a video titled Behind the Scenes Making of Halo 2 on Bungie's YouTube channel from like 11 years ago. It covers the whole story, hell and high water. It's a great watch and I strongly recommend you check it out if you're interested after you watch this video. No, please don't leave! The story starts with our boy Master Chief. Hey, wait a minute, that ain't Master Chief. Oh shit, new character just dropped. Hold up.
I will continue my campaign against the humans.
No, you will not. Soon the great journey shall begin. But when it does, the weight of your heresy will stay your feet, and you shall be left behind.
Okay, cool. So, the story starts with unnamed elite man talking to these three droopy nutsack-looking dudes who we have never met in a city that we have never been to. What the hell happened between where we left off and now? I'm sure it's not important. Hey, look! Our boy! The gameplay starts with us once again resuming the role of Master Chief back in Earth's orbit on board the Cairo Defense Station, where we have just gotten word that a Covenant fleet has been spotted not far out of range. We grab our much needed weapon, hit the bricks, suck some dicks, and successfully defend the station, sustaining minimal casualties. After locating and defusing the Covenant's bomb on board the Cairo, Master Chief hits us with one of the best one-liners in the series.
Permission to leave the station.
For what purpose, Master Chief?
To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Staying true to his word and indeed giving the Covenant back their bomb, we zip through some space rubble and blow a gaper in the Covenant cruiser, all before miraculously sticking the landing on top of Miranda Keyes' ship. Listen, man, some things don't need to make sense. They just gotta be cool. Hopping aboard our trusty old Pelican, we take the fight to Earth's surface for the first time in the series and are greeted by a full smorgasbord of elites, grunts, drones, hunters, and everybody's favorite enemy, the quickest draw this side of the Mississippi, Sniper Jackals. Outskirts has always been one of my favorite levels in the game. Shit, maybe even the whole series. The tight streets and being able to literally traverse the rooftops, all while popping bitches with the sniper that I stole from Johnson, always felt so freeing and simultaneously makes me feel like I'm breaking every rule of the game, but also doing it exactly how Bungie wanted me to. I don't really know how to explain it well, but getting out of bounds in games has always given me that feeling of like when you're playing hide and seek and as soon as you find a good spot, you instantly have to piss like a fucking horse. Like, I know I'm breaking the rules, but I also can't help but feel like they wanted me up here to see the full scale of the city, even if half the buildings look like they're not even textured. My brother and I used to play the piss out of this mission and its companion, Metropolis, before Halo 3 came out, so it's always held a very special place in my heart. Speaking of which, after we cruise our blunt through the tunnels, we pop out at the far end of the city into the transition to the aforementioned Metropolis, which is the first time we get to pilot a Scorpion tank in Halo 2's campaign. We blast our way across the bridge into some more tunnels, and eventually emerge into the controversial street area that was originally shown in Bungie's E3 trailer, but had to be cut down substantially due to time constraints and those dastardly console limitations. I say controversial because it is one of the main places that people point to when discussing the development process of Halo 2 and what all didn't end up making the final cut. Continuing on, the pair of levels rounds out with the final fight on board the Covenant Scarab, where we need to jump off the ledge, take out the pilots, and walk off that bitch like a boss. Please don't think I was making a like a boss reference in 2024. I just watch Impractical Jokers, okay? Just leave me alone. After tailing the Prophet of Regret ship into uncharted space waters, we slide Master Chief's story onto that back left side burner to cool down, while we shift our attention to a new character, the Arbiter, in a mission also called the Arbiter. Now, from what I've seen online, mainly from old crusty dudes who use the term respectively after listing two things to sound smarter, I guess this was a big topic of debate back in the 1800s when Neoseeker was still around and people had text signatures. People were really not happy that we didn't get to play as Master Chief for longer, and were annoyed that we had to jump to this hoof-having jackass out in BFE. Personally, I've never really minded that we play as the Arbiter from a story perspective, I just don't really love his list of missions. The Arbiter, the mission, not the person, starts out slow but gets more exciting towards the end, and similar to Outskirts and Metropolis, has a companion mission that follows it, the Oracle. These missions together add some much needed story context to the otherwise mysterious motives of the Covenant, and for that, I do like them, but compared to the bangers that Bungie gave us with Master Chief's missions, they do not hold a candle to the level that follows the Oracle, Delta Halo. Oh shit, hold on, I skipped the whole story part, hold on. So yeah, basically the prophets are like, hey, there's this dude holed up in this mining facility that's poking some pretty big holes in our religion. Why don't you go down there and show him who's boss? So we pop in, shoot the dude, he tries to explain that the Great Journey, the whole reason the Covenant exists, is kind of a crock of shit, but then he just starts shooting us before Guilty Spark can explain what Halo's used for. Even though he was the one that wanted us to listen to him in the first place. I don't know, he's kind of a weird guy. Also, Incubus is playing in the background, and that's really all you need to know. Oh, also remember that ragtag group of goop, the Flood? They're back as well. Alright, now back to the good shit. Delta Halo opens up with another ripper of a cutscene with us stumbling across another Halo ring, then storming the cliffside with a group of ODSTs equipped with nothing more than an SMG. And a rocket launcher.
Could we possibly make any more noise? I guess so.
There are a couple bits of cutscene dialogue that never fail to make me smile, the first ones that come to mind being the one that you just heard, and Johnson gushing over the firepower of the Scorpion tank at the beginning of Metropolis. This brings me to a point that I don't feel like I see a ton of people talk about, which is just how masterfully Bungie manages to weave comic relief with the more serious moments. The tiny bits of funny dialogue weaved into the overarching, more serious story really does a wonderful job of letting the developers' personalities shine through their work, but not completely overpowering what they're trying to say with the story at large. An example of this is at the end of the level Quarantine Zone, when Sergeant Johnson is getting his shit absolutely rocked by the Arbiter, and when he gets pinned to the wall, Johnson hits Arby with a good ol' "how you doing?" It's a short, subtle jab of funny and doesn't completely tank the momentum of the cutscene. Now, if this was 343, they would have injected a fucking knock-knock joke in there and then forgot to add the punchline. That's coming in Season 3, guys, just trust me. What do you mean I'm fired? To me, it's moments like these that make the Bungie Halo games that much more memorable. They don't take themselves too seriously 100% of the time, and when they do, it doesn't feel forced or overly dramatic. I am looking directly at you, Halo 4.
I am ordering you to surrender that AI! No, sir.
Landing on the new Halo ring, we're tasked with tracking and taking down the Prophet of Regret and fucking up every single thing that gets in our way. Elites? Fuck them, dude. Ghosts? Fuck them, dude. Wraiths? Fuck them, dude. Get out of my fucking face, you're garbage. Delta Halo and subsequent mission Regret are another pair of levels that I absolutely adore. The setting is beautiful, the architecture is interesting, the map layout is sick, and the shrine structures and later interiors really nail that, like, mysterious, foreign, alien, but also ancient and futuristic at the same time kind of aesthetic that they were going for. Even the gondola rides, which I'm not a huge fan of, are a fun little addition with the enemy boats that come up and they try to board yours. It's like some Sea of Thieves type shit. I think, I don't know, I didn't play the game. I have a very distinct memory of my brother and I trying to save every vehicle we could for some reason. I don't know, we would just end up with like 15 ghosts at the area right before the Pelican drops off the pod things before you go into the temple. We would just leave them there. There's no reason for us to do it, but we would do it every single time we play that mission. We did a similar thing on Savo Highway in Halo 3, but we'll get there too, don't you worry. Making our way to the temple that Regret is held up in, we need to board his wheelchair and beat the old man piss out of him, then beeline it out of there before the giant laser strikes from above. The mission concludes with some of those hentai tentacles grabbing our big man thighs and dragging us to the bottom of the lake, all before we zip back to the Arbiter's point of view, back on High Charity. Here, we see the elites being demoted from protectors of the prophets to measly little soldiers, and Truth and Mercy give us the new objective of locating the sacred icon, aka the activation index. We roll on down to the ring's surface with Tartarus and the elite shipmaster as backup, and make our way through the flood-infested facility to try to locate the index. The cutscene that plays towards the later half of the mission quarantine zone is one that I've never really paid much mind to until this most recent playthrough for this video. The relationship between Arbiter and Shipmaster is one that I'm particularly fond of, just because there's this sort of mutual understanding that the Arbiter is this kind of worthless piece of shit that just refuses to die, despite being sent on numerous soup of side missions, all orchestrated by the Prophets. I feel like with them both being elites, they have this sort of respect for one another, and the more missions they go on together, the more Shipmaster starts to view the Arbiter as what he really is. A cool-ass dude. The same cannot be said for Arbiter and Tartarus, because that motherfucker betrays us and shoots us into a big hole, never to be seen again. When we finally awaken, we are greeted by a giant tentacle flood monster waving us around, and hold the fort? Who's that? Now, this is the point of the story that we've been trying to get to basically from the beginning, where our two heroes finally meet face to face, and the circumstances to which they do, in my opinion, couldn't be any more rad. The monster that ensnares our boys is none other than the Gravemind, which is basically an amalgamation of a bunch of flood particles all smushed together into this big sentient being that can remotely control all the flood that spawned from it. As much as I despise the flood and every level they make an appearance in, save for like the last mission of Halo 3, the juxtaposition of Gravemind's physical character design and his dialogue is something that I think is so fucking cool. He's just this giant, goopy, toothy, shit-looking motherfucker that just speaks in such elegant and poetic verses. You think it's like some Shakespeare-ass dude. He's grotesque and nasty looking, but his dialogue is just beautiful in a way, and I really love the dichotomy of his character. If that ain't the most uppity-ass sentence I have ever fucking said, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
I am a monument to all your sins. Fate had us meet as foes, but this ring will make us brothers.
In his interrogation of Chief and the Arbiter, Gravemind pulls out 2401 Penitent Tangent, the previous overseer of Installation 05, the ring that we're currently on, as well as the Prophet of Regret, that old man that we just brutally beat the shit out of not 20 minutes ago. He explains that the Monitor's containment and Regret's great journey are one and the same, and that if they successfully fire the Halo ring, everyone in and around it will die. To stop this metaphorical key from turning, he sends us to two separate locations in the hopes of locating the activation index, with Chief searching High Charity and the Arbiter searching the area just outside the control room. Chief's up first, and to kick off the level Gravemind, we get plopped right smack in the middle of a High Council broadcast where Truth is announcing that the Great Journey is well underway. This area in particular is fucking brutal on legendary difficulty, seeing as before you even spawn in, you're already getting shot by like 3 brutes and 2 grunts. And to make it even worse, the only weapon you have for the first encounter of enemies is a single needler. We pop Cortana into the High Charity mainframe, which will be a very important thing to remember later on, then make our way through the city in an attempt to catch up to Truth and the boys. Along the way, we piece together that we actually arrived right in the middle of the Elite's uprising against the Covenant, so there are some areas that we don't even really need to participate in. We can just sit back and let them duke it out with the brutes. Breaking Benjamin makes an appearance towards the end of the level, as well as the flood, which once again will be a crucial detail to keep in the back of our minds. The flood part, not Breaking Benjamin. They don't come back in Halo 3, unfortunately. The next couple of levels ping-pong between Chief and the Arbiter, but essentially take place at the same time, so I'm going to cover Master Chief's story all at once to kind of keep it more organized, and then we'll jump to the Arbiter side. Trying to word this how it's laid out in game was a fucking nightmare. Truth betrays the Prophet of Mercy by letting him get eaten by the Flood, presumably so that he can retain full control of the Covenant, then sets out in a group of phantoms, narrowly avoiding our grasp. After Mercy spills the beans on Truth's plans, we must make our way through the flood-ridden city to the Forerunner ship that he's getting ready to take to Earth. The reasoning for this is vague, with Mercy only saying that the reason Truth is going to Earth is to, quote, finish what we started.
And this time, none of you will be left behind.
To avoid the possibility of Tartarus firing the Halo ring, we leave Cortana in High Charity's network so that she can detonate in Amberclad's fusion reactors if needed, which Bungie makes a sly little callback to Combat Evolved by saying,
Not a very original plan, but we know it'll work.
Leaving her behind, we haul ass through the city and with some real Indiana Jones type shit, just narrowly make it on the ship by the skin of our tip. The ship launches from High Charity and enters a slip space portal, putting us just outside of Earth's orbit, where Chief sends us off with his final one-liner of the game just before the credits roll. Okay, bear with me, because we gotta jump back a little bit to catch up with the Arbiter. So, at the same time that Chief was interrupting the council meeting, Arbiter was teleported to a cliffside just outside the control room. Through our journey down the cliff, we learn that the elites have broken out of the Covenant and are currently being slaughtered by the brutes, which is not ideal, given that we are an elite. Eventually, we link back up with our boy Shipmaster, fight our way through packs of brutes, and for the first and I think only time in the series, fight alongside the motherfucking hunters, baby. That's me! In a plot twist that my 6-year-old ass absolutely did not see coming, we join forces with Sergeant Johnson to take down Tartarus and stop the ring from firing.
Listen, you don't like me, and I sure as hell don't like you. But if we don't do something, Mr. Mohawk's gonna activate this ring. We're all gonna die.
I was about to say this is another piece of cutscene dialogue that I always really like, but I'm starting to think that it's really just Johnson. That dude has like the best goddamn lines of any side character of any game ever. We hop on our Banshee and fly to the newly opened door, pop into the control room, and collectively take down Tartarus alongside an undisclosed number of nameless elites and Johnson on base. I was half tempted to put the whole cutscene of Arbiter confronting Tartarus, and you know what? The other half agrees. Fuck it, roll the clip.
Tartarus, stop.
Impossible.
Put down the icon. Put it down and disobey the Hierarchs? There are things about Halo even the Hierarchs do not understand. Oracle, what is Halo's purpose?
Collectively, the Seven.
Wrong! Not another word!
Please. Don't shake the light bulb. If you want to keep your brain inside your head, I tell those boys to chill. Go ahead. Do your thing.
The sacred rings, what are they?
Weapons of last resort, built by the Forerunners to eliminate potential flood hosts, thereby rendering the parasite harmless.
And those who made the rings? What happened to the Forerunners?
After exhausting every other strategic option, my creators activated the rings. They and all additional sentient life in 3 radii of the galactic center died as planned.
Tartarus, the prophets have betrayed us. No, Arbiter! The great journey has begun, and the brutes, not the elite, shall be the prophet's escort.
After defeating Tartarus, Miranda does some crazy-ass parkour moves onto the main platform, and with the goofiest fucking animation, snatches the index right before the ring fires. For those wondering, this was changed in the remaster, and she no longer does the weird arm-out running thing. Guilty Spark then tells us that because the ring did not fire successfully, the other 6 rings are now in standby mode and can be remotely activated from a place called the Ark. The camera then jumps back to Chief onboard Truth's ship, and the infamous Halo 2 cliffhanger ending rears its ugly head, putting what would become a 3-year wait on our story's heavily anticipated conclusion.
This is Spartan 117.
Can anyone hear me? Over.
Isolate that signal. Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
Sir, finishing this fight.
Damn, that story retelling took a lot longer than I was expecting, so I'm trying to get through this second part as quick as I can and not keep you here for any longer than I need to. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, the development process for Halo 2 was rocky to say the least, and a fucking shit show to say the most. Now, while I don't want to glorify or really even discuss the unhealthy work environment and crunch culture, I feel like it cannot be said enough just how ambitious Bungie was with this sequel, and how much of their heart and soul the team poured into this game, not just for the fans, but for themselves. According to the Halopedia page for Halo 2's campaign, there were at least 4 other missions that were planned or minimally in development for Halo 2's campaign that had to get cut either due to time constraints or the limitations of the original Xbox. There was supposed to be a mission right after Cairo Station where Chief infiltrates the Covenant cruiser, which ended up just getting cut into the Covenant bomb cutscene, as well as a bundle of 3 other missions where we were supposed to confront Truth on the Ark. I could be misremembering this, but I want to say those missions got cut into like the Storm, the Ark, and the Covenant, I think, but I'm not totally sure, don't quote me on that. Regardless, the fact that they had basically the entire story of Halo 3 planned for Halo 2 just goes to show what they thought they could do, and while it didn't end up panning out in the end, at least they tried. I promise this won't become a games just aren't good anymore type of video, but I just can't help but feel like the top dogs of the developer world just ain't built the same as old Bungie, dude. To quote Adrian Perez, a former engineer at Bungie, the difference between good enough and awesome is so big, and there's standards set by everyone here that good enough sucks. You can't do good enough. It's a hard thing to live up to, but the game is going to be better for it. They weren't going to settle for anything less than what they envisioned until the publishers came to pry them away from their keyboards and tell them the game is done. no half-baked, unfinished, broken ideas, and the ones that were kind of present are A, not as bad as you remember, and B, not even comparable to some of the dog shit slop that developers have pushed out the last couple of years with quadruple the budget and technology that devs in 2004 could only dream of. They were working with the equivalent of fucking 2 rocks and a piece of string and still managed to give us one of the greatest games ever developed. Meanwhile, 343 is backed by the same goddamn company, and all they managed to do was give us the Into Cortana story, which no one really asked for, and they took back, and a piss-poor attempt at a reboot that they opened 6 cans of worms for and then said, we don't know how to close these, and then just left it hanging. Look, I'm starting to get off topic here, but I had a couple other things written down that I wanted to say, but didn't really know how to fit them in, so I'm just going to fire them off. Number one, Bungie wanted to do something so big that half of the game had to get cut is just a testament to how many new ideas they had and they wanted to do just because they thought it was gonna be fun. They had too many good ideas, and while it did prove to be a detriment, at least they weren't stuck into this cookie cutter, trend following shit that like 4 and 5 really suffered from. They were expressing so much creativity that the current generation of consoles could not handle. Badass. Number two, this has been said a lot, so this isn't an original thought, but could you imagine if Halo 2 was kind of developed today? Not just with like the technical improvements, but just the fact that Bungie could, in theory, feed in all the ideas that they didn't get to do in their time frame. This would of course be in a make-believe fantasy world where corporate suits let the team do what they're there to do and just keep their little paws out of it, but we can dream. The last thing I wrote immediately after finishing the campaign, which I think kind of wraps everything I'm trying to say up into a nice sort of conclusion. Fuck, I ran out of time. I think that Bungie really nailed the serious to not serious tug of war in storytelling so well, which I think is a big reason why Halo means so much to me. They are funny without really trying to be and know exactly what buttons to push and when. I feel like with 343, they would push the right buttons, but they would just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they were meaningless, and kind of what I said earlier, they would just take themselves too seriously, and it was just kind of, it came off as very overdramatic. In Halo 2, there was wit and spunk and a sense of the story at large. And in Infinite, it's just like, haha, he's Mr. Poopy Pants, but you're not, you don't stink, and it fucking sucks ass. All in all, I love Halo 2 every single time I play through it, and I know a lot of that is chalked up to nostalgia, but even without those rosy goggles, I think that it's still a work of art. The team that worked on Halo 2 put their heart and soul into the game, and it not only shines straight through, but pays off so goddamn well. And with that being said, and the fact that I don't really know how to end this video, I think I've pretty much expressed everything I need to about my feelings towards Halo 2. Next time, I want to dive into Halo 3, which, if you can believe it, I like even more than Halo 2. Shocking, I know. If you like this type of video and want to see more shit kind of like it, consider subscribing, and if you got $3 you're willing to send my way, go ahead and become a channel member and I'll make it worth your while with not only credit on future videos, but also you get them a couple days early. It's kind of nice. See, this could be you. You could be Mr. Loser. Fuck, maybe you're Mr. Loser. Hey, Mr. Loser. Hi, Not Shad. Hi, Craig. Love you guys. I've been Aqua Sloth. You've been great. And when we meet again, we'll finish this fight.